Guys, welcome. I'm Oliver Fuselier, the Managing Director of Great Guns USA. And I don't know if you all know, probably everybody knows Addison Cooper, who's the North American editor for LBB. We're just going to kind of dive in. Kwame has a relationship or knows, I think, both Linda and Kwame. I was having a little bit of a happy hour Zoom with Tanya last night, and I was like, oh, just jump in and like be a surprise guest. And anyway, so just so everybody knows, Tanya, your title is you're the head of production and associate partner at MH now, right? It used to be.
Yeah, we just got rid of all the other letters.
I love it. I couldn't pronounce it anyway.
There's too many letters. We just said F it, MH.
I love it. Well, look, guys, we're going to jump right in. I try to get a little bit of background from everybody, just to kind of make things a little bit more fun. But Marci Miller, I'm going to start with you because we have Marci Miller. She's the president, U.S. at the community in Miami, Florida. Is that right?
That's right.
Welcome, welcome. Well, you have one of, like, I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any dirt. I couldn't find any pictures. I couldn't find anything. You two, wait, you got a lot of stuff, Linda and Kwame. You did the great Oreo.
Oreo Vault, Oreo Offering, Thins.
Yes, which was really amazing. It was the Oreo Thins production program, right?
It was the adult production program, yes. So protecting your Oreos from your kids, especially during the pandemic, was a must-have.
Oh my God. Have you had to do that ever? Like, have you had
Really?
hide?
Yeah. Especially, there was a lot of consumer research I needed to do on Thins, make sure. Yeah, it was. Thins protection program was a must-have in this household.
I love it. They are great. So you're Miami born, which is amazing. You went to university in Miami. Is there anything that you want to tell us that we don't know about you or I couldn't find on the internet?
Yes, I do my best to try to keep things offline. So I appreciate that you couldn't find much. That's good to know. But yeah, born and raised in Miami, and started my career in a little ad agency called Tinsley. And then when Crispin got Burger King, that was my goal, was to go work there, and worked at Crispin for about almost 14 years. And then moved over to the community.
That's funny because I did see that you worked at Burger King. I was like, she started a career at a Burger King? That's kind of interesting. I was like, wow.
There was training involved. It was
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to go to our next guest. It's Kwame Taylor-Hayford, who's the founder of Kin in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome.
Cool. Thanks, Oliver. And it's co-founder, my fantastic co-founder, Sophie. And I founded the company about 3 years ago now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You guys have done very well. Congratulations. That's really amazing. Well, one thing that you should be proud of, and that is all over the internet, is Saturday Morning, and certainly the look, which was like quite amazing piece of work. So bravo to that. And also you have a boutique, premium boutique, August Market. Tell us about that a little bit. That's kind of exciting. I tried to go on and buy one of the t-shirts because I think they're really rad, but you're out of the large and the extra large. So
yeah. So August Market is it's actually a project that started with my wife. She worked in fashion forever, for a big designer in New York, but she wanted to do her own thing. So 5 years ago, we decided to open August Market. It's a premium fashion and home goods boutique. We had a brick and mortar for quite a while in upstate New York, but now it's online only. And we sell brands like Rachel Comey and Maison Louis Marie, Aesop. It's a really fun project. To be honest, it's her like full-time thing and it's my part-time thing. I'm playing a supportive role there, but it's exciting. Yeah, it's pretty cool to just have an opportunity to curate some of the things that we love and make them available to people.
It's great. It's really amazing. I truly tried to buy some tees. They're amazing. The last thing for you is that I love Instagram. I think it's such an amazing platform, but there was this picture of one, it was like a top of a black, probably high top Converse tennis shoe going down a step, and the caption read "one step at a time." Is that your mantra?
I'm definitely big on just done is better than perfect. It's so important to just get on the road and start doing the thing. And maybe it's because, I came up more in the digital world, and that was a big part of my focus, the focus of my career. But everything's iterative, and it's important for you to not cripple yourself with perfection. Just start doing it, and as you do it, iterate, improve it, and eventually you'll get where you're trying to go, I think.
Yeah, well, look at you. I think it works. Keep doing it one step at a time. I think I'm going to learn from that. Well, thank you. We're really glad to have you. And I'm glad to reconnect for sure, from the digital world. And our next guest is Linda Knight, President CCO at Observatory in Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Linda.
Hello.
So you're originally from Australia?
Originally from Australia, yes.
And I hear the story is that you did a project with your partner, somebody from Wieden Kennedy, maybe a big somebody, contacted you early in the morning. And I think early on you said that at Wieden Kennedy it was okay to fail as long as you took a big swing. I think you took a big swing and moved to Portland. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, it was our portfolio was sent by a headhunter, an Australian headhunter, Esther Clarahan. But we also, had some Coca-Cola work on the cover of Archive, which helped. And we got a call from Dan Wieden and Susan Hoffman, first thing in the morning, saying, "Come over, it's summer. When can you get here? Come, we're ready for you, 2 weeks." I was like, "What? Summer?" I mean, in Australia, summer's like most of the year. I realized quickly that that's not the case in Portland. It's like 3 weeks. Yeah, so it was awesome. It was really great time of my life.
Yeah, that's an amazing time. I was during that time, I was at a little company called Propaganda Films, and I was working with a director by the name of David Fincher. I started production managing, and then I ended up producing with him, and he was a darling of Wieden Kennedy for the beginning of the years until Michael Bay kind of took over, and then you guys found all of these other amazing people. But it was an amazing time, right?
It was a really amazing time. There was a whole crop of young creatives that started when we did, and it was it was a different Portland back then. There wasn't a lot to do. And so we just worked hard and we partied hard, and it was really fun. It was a good time.
That's exciting. Had you been to America prior to that trip?
Never.
Oh my God, you really took a big swing. That's great.
I took a big swing. I didn't even really know anything about Portland. I had to watch Free Willy and get all the, do a little bit of research on it. Knew nothing. And it was quite a culture shock too. And it wasn't the culture shock of Australia to America. It was more Sydney to Portland. It was quite a culture shock. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story. That's amazing. Of course, you probably have been asked this many times, but you have been known in the press to say that you potentially inspired Ryan Reynolds' advertising career.
Yeah, that's not true. But we did do when I was at Shite, we did a Peak Games campaign for Toon Blast, and we had Ryan Reynolds star in that campaign where he was obsessed with the mobile game Toon Blast, and we did like 20 different spots with him, and we wrote a whole lot of spots and he wrote a couple of spots, and I think he thought it was quite fun, fairly easy money, so I think we inspired him, but he's been doing pretty well without any help from us. So
I love it. Well, thank you. Welcome for sure. And Tanya, who's our guest, our secret guest, I just want to say hello. I don't know if you want to give just a little bit of quick background. I know you know Linda and Kwame from different agencies, but maybe tell us a little bit of quick fun facts about you.
Fun facts about me. Fun facts about me. Let's see. Well, let's see. I met Kwame at Saatchi and Saatchi on, I think it was a Slipknot project that never happened.
It was.
I think that's actually an ill-fated Slipknot project that never happened.
Right.
Right. So that's how, so I think I've known you since 2010. I think we never actually worked together, but like we've known each other through the years.
Thank you all. Let's just jump right into the first question. What was your first experience of leadership? And it could be when you were a child, you're bossy, pushy, whatever, high school, college. Did it help you to figure out what kind of leader you wanted to be or what kind of leader you didn't want to be? I think we're going to go with Marci first.
All right. I mean, I was a dancer my whole life. So there was in high school, this, as the captain of that team, there was the leading of the charge, like physically, but then also just that team camaraderie and spirit and collaboration was really critical. So I learned really early on, nothing is going to happen in a team situation without team collaboration, without trust. That was really important to me, at a really young age, and have continued to really foster that type of environment throughout my career and now to this day. And so from a leadership perspective, it really was about just, relying on the help of the team, ensuring there was a trusting relationship, and just being a genuinely nice human to other people, and to ensure that was reciprocated.
Wow, I love that. Do you dance still?
I wish. I literally got surgery on my leg a week ago, so I am sitting with my leg. I don't
no.
do this often. I chose post-college to go on the path of advertising, where there's definitely dancing and advertising, but not not that
What
I
kind
would.
of dancing did you do? Were you ballet? Were you jazz? Were you tap?
Yeah, ballet, tap, jazz.
You did everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of teasing for being a cheerleader too. So I'm surprised you online, but I am very glad you didn't.
I love it. I was a dancer as well. I love dance. It's amazing. Well, thank you for that. What about you, Linda?
I don't actually have any experience really that molded me as a leader that stands out to me. I had a pretty good childhood. I was actually quite a naughty child. I didn't like being told what to do. I usually did the opposite of what my parents asked me to do. I was always up to something, whether that was, bringing creatures into the house, lizards and bugs and a lamb, or doing things that I was told not to, taking a canoe into the middle of a lake, an eel-filled lake, where of course I fell out of that canoe. So I was always up to something, but I think, that made me as a leader more open to people trying different things, to, trying and failing, and not necessarily listening to what everyone says and charting their own course. So
when did you actually take that on and understand it? What was that? Was there a moment in time where you were like, I kind of understand this, and I like this, and I like this, this situation as a leader?
Well, I feel like it's more working together with the team to do great work rather than being the leader, and it's all, working together. So, no real revelation that I love being a leader. I do like, like getting my own way. But
Clearly.
we're all a team doing great work. So
yeah, I like everybody being collaborative, but I like to have the final say. I get it. I love that. No, listen, that is a great leader. Thank you for that. What about you, Kwame?
I actually ended up coaching my little brother's basketball team in high school. He's young enough. He's a lot younger than me, so I was in high school at the time, and he was in I guess middle school. And I don't know, I think it was very interesting getting a bunch of super young kids to try to focus and collaborate and play well together. And I don't know, I learned a lot about just creating an environment that people want to be in and making it fun and being creative. And I think it really stuck with me, through my career. And similar to what Linda said, I've never really cared about being like the leader or the boss. I've always tried to create an environment that people want to be a part of, and I feel it's serving me well now because we're able to bring people with so many different backgrounds and experiences to the table, and we're able to, empower everyone to be themselves, and sometimes that means there's some really weird ideas that nobody gets. Sometimes that means things are a bit kind of chaotic, but I think that's a bit of the beauty of what we do, is that you're able to find a little bit of magic in some of that chaos.
Yeah, it does seem like, even Linda, I mean, going back to, just being that defiant child but in a playful and creative way. You're an explorer, so people like to follow people who explore and are willing to take chances. And I think all three of you guys have that. Tanya, what about you?
I remember my art teacher in, I think, 9th or 10th grade took us on a tour. I grew up on Long Island, and I mean, I would go, my parents were my mom grew up in Brooklyn, my dad grew up in Spanish Harlem. And so we'd go into the city all the time. But I remember we went on a tour of MTV, so I'm dating myself, and we met downtown Julie Brown. Okay, mind blown, right? And we went to a recording session and ran into Daryl Hannah recording a voiceover. We
Well, that's
went
a
to
name
the
from the
animation
past.
studio, and I was like, I want to do whatever this is, whatever these people are doing, I want to do that. And I think it's the making, and I think what you've all, like what you guys have all said, it's like, it's just, I want to make, and I want to do, and I want to create. I didn't know if it was being a producer, a director, whatever it was. And it was just get into making. And I remember just, that's it. I want to be a maker. And
Yeah.
I think over time, as you're in the art of making and doing, you kind of then make that evolution of, how do I continue to bring other people, help bring ideas together? And I think that's how you become, I think, a great leader, is
Yeah.
how to foster those things. So.
That's great. I mean, I do think MTV was, it was a platform in which I think a lot of inspiration came out of early in probably all of our careers. I know Wyden and Kennedy at the time, there was just so many innovative things that were happening, in music videos and in that kind of culture that just being a part of David Fincher, and just seeing all the things that he would come up with, that crazy mind of his. So I think it's a great story. So I love it. Thank you guys very much. I think Addison has the next question.
I can take this one. So I think, like, something I often ask people as a journalist is like how they actually got into the industry. And I would say over 95% of people didn't really intend to get into advertising. It's always like a bit more of a happy accident. And this question doesn't necessarily have to be about what led you to where you are in advertising today, but what is a happy accident that has played a part in kind of leading you to where you are today? It can be within work, but it can also just be in life. Kwame, we'll start with you if you want to go.
So it's very intentional getting into advertising, but there's a happy accident in there. I started in finance, and I was at like a Swiss bank, like UBS, and I did not enjoy it at all. It just, the work didn't speak to me. The culture wasn't a space that I wanted to be in, and I had taken a few marketing classes in college, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll do marketing or advertising stuff. So I knew no one. I had no way of getting into the business, so I literally cold called a bunch of agencies in New York, and just, picked the phone, and happy accident, on one of those calls, I was able to connect with this amazing woman called Regina Gordon, who I actually recently reconnected with, almost 20 years later, which is pretty cool. But we just hit it off on the phone, and she offered to meet with me. So I, came into the city, I put on my best suit and showed up at this agency, and looked definitely like the odd man out. But fortunately, she looked past the suit, and she thought, I guess I had some potential, and she gave me a shot. She gave me an unpaid internship, which I, worked really hard at, and ultimately, got a job. And, at the time, the agency she was at was working on a bunch of hotel brands and some entertainment brands. So it was a really great way to get my feet wet and to understand the business. And, so yeah, I think it was very fortuitous that I met Regina and that she believed enough in me to give me a shot. And, here I am close to 20 years later.
Nice. I hope no one else in here very intentionally got into advertising, by the way, because you're going to debunk my prediction. But Linda, do you want to go next?
Yeah, it wasn't intentional for me until it was. I, studied fine art, a fine art degree, and my final major work was these wall-size photographs with these lines on them from trashy novels. And it was the end of the whole thing, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And someone mentioned that they looked like advertising posters. And I thought, I didn't really have any other idea of what I was going to do in life. So I moved to Sydney and fast-tracked a portfolio. I found out that the thing to do was to get into award school, which was this 12-week course, 2 nights a week with a couple of creative directors. You get 10 briefs, and by the end of it, you have a portfolio. And then I worked in an agency for free and, continued working on that and managed to break in. So it was definitely a happy accident. If someone hadn't mentioned that, who knows?
Nice.
Wow.
And Tanya, how about you?
I knew I wanted to get into, I knew I wanted to get into production, but I didn't know how or what, if it was going to be theater, because I actually was a theater minor. Believe it or not, I was a lighting minor. Like I would haul like lighting like on vertical ladders. If anybody's met me, like that's virtually impossible today, but whatever. Anyway, sidebar. But I can't believe these words are about to come out of my mouth. I was waitressing, and I was working at the Sharper Image so I could have benefits. And I met a recruiter who's like, I'm gonna get you into J. Walter Thompson. And I'm like, she's like, but here's the thing, you gotta quit tomorrow and you're gonna freelance at this company, and I'm gonna, and she's like, but you gotta quit the Sharper Image tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So I walk, I'm 21 and I walk into this guy's office. We'll call him Bob. And I'm like, Bob, and I was like a telephone customer service person. And, I was brought up right. You're supposed to give 2 weeks notice. And I'm like, Bob, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to quit the Sharper Image without notice. And he's like, well, you can never work at the Sharper Image ever again. And I go, Bob, I'm willing to chance it.
I love it.
And then the rest is history. And at this freelance thing, and then she got me in for a bunch of interviews, and I got in as an assistant account executive. And then 6 months later, I actually then got my job in the production department working for Craig Allen. So who is an amazing, he's retired now, but an amazing head of production. So.
And was JWT something you were kind of aware of at that point, or was it new to you when this person said?
I was like, it's an agency. Just get me in. I just need to get into a place and just, because at first I was like, well, I took the job at the Sharper Image thinking I can get into the photo group, thinking that was a way in to get into making. I was like, get me anywhere that I could make something. I was like, I'll work in the catalog department. And but thank God that didn't work out.
And Marci, how about you?
So it's interesting because when I was a psychology major and communications major, and I went into this track thinking I am going to be an art director. Like that was my goal. My mom was an artist, family of artists, art. I loved it. Art history. I was all into it. Clearly didn't know the value of a portfolio upon graduation. When I graduated, the market was a mess. Jobs were really sparse. And my book was totally pathetic. I still have it just to remind myself how awful it was. And by coincidence, I was in a nail salon talking about, confiding in the woman, how, the search was so hard, and I was going to have to move to New York because the Miami market was just not, pre-Crispin, it didn't exist necessarily. And someone happened to be sitting in there, overheard it, and was like, hey, I work for a small agency. my husband's the president. I'd love to hire you as an account executive. Come check it out and see if maybe that's a path you might like. And I was like, what the hell is an account executive? Like, it sounds awful. And you know, cut to 20 plus years later and I'm still here. So it was the right move and a interesting coincidence. And you know, I still have a passion for art at heart. So I love working with creative thinkers and but I think I made the right move.
Okay. Well, there were some good happy accidents there, but I think you might have pipped it with your Chance nail salon.
Is the nail salon still there? Do you still patronize? Do you still go to the nail salon?
I mean, I stayed in touch with them forever. They retired years ago, but great people, and they're no longer in Miami, but they watched, they kind of followed me along the career. It was great.
Isn't that amazing? That's great. The third question, the power of words is more important than ever, particularly in the past, you know, 2.5, 3 years. What's the most inspiring and what is the most annoying word or words that have stood out to you in the past year? We'll go with Linda first.
Well, the most inspiring, it might not sound like it, for me, is the word trolling. I think if it's done the right way, it can be really positive. So, you know, it can be internet activism. It can be a way to get your point across and get eyeballs. It doesn't need to be negative. You know, the Proud Boys, the far right group, were trolled by gay Twitter, who flooded the Proud Boys hashtag with, you know, pride images. Ukrainians changed the street signs to confuse and to, you know, insult the Russians. So I think it's really not punching down, but punching up. And I think it can be quite an inspiring word if it's used the right way. Annoying word, I mean, there's so many of them, but risky. I think, you know, people use that to kill ideas and concepts that, you know, are new, that they haven't seen before, which is, you know, what everything should be, something that no one's ever seen out in the world. And if you do it right, it's really going to stand out and people are going to notice. So, you know, I feel like that should be the bar, risky. So that would be the annoying word when it's used to kill ideas.
Wow. I love that. You know, look, I think trolling, it's funny to hear it from a different perspective. It really flipped it on its head, because I think that you're absolutely right. I troll all the time. I just didn't know it, you know, but it's in a positive way, you know. So
I mean, it's a small subsection, but when it's done right, it's really, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and risky too. I mean, I think risky is like, you're absolutely right. I never thought about that word as a negative thing, but it is, you know, and in your world, you know, you can't be, you know, you have to be risky. You have to be risk take. That's what you guys do. You know what I mean? It's what makes us in production so excited about working with you guys, because it's a risk that we're all taking, that we're going to be able to like somehow produce your vision, you know, and I love that word. So I think those are really great words. Thank you for that. What about you, Marci?
I'm going to start with the most annoying, and it is this phenomenon that I think has surpassed, but I don't know if anyone else noticed it hit its peak during the pandemic, the use of the word right. But at some point it started to be used as like this affirmation, right? Everyone would be talking and they would end their sentence with right, you know, and so I started wondering what's going on with this, right? Like I can't wrap my head around it. And someone, my husband actually mentioned this to me in a random conversation one day, and I could not get it out of my head. And every conversation since then, now it's one of those buzzwords that you just pick up every conversation. But it's definitely, I think that fad has surpassed now. And so hopefully the word right will no longer be a negative one for me. It can go back to its original positive affirmation.
I love that.
For most inspiring, mine's pretty basic. Like I think a true thank you is just one of the most inspiring phrases, and not necessarily a word, but a phrase, and like an authentic thank you, whether it's from a client or a partner or a teammate. It's just when it's used correctly and it's really with the intent, it's a game changer. And so that would be my favorite right now.
I love that. it's funny. I do think that since the pandemic and in the, the on being in Zoom for so long, I think words have been magnified in a way that we look at them differently, just like, trolling and risky and right. It's funny, right started becoming a negative thing for me. I think it was mostly Gen Zs, because when you ask a question to someone, they go, you're like, hey, how are you doing today? Right. So, it became like this kind of go-to moment for thought. I think it was a I don't know, it's like a filler word, so I love that was your bad word, and thank you for that. That's the thank you is a really great one. I think it's always a good word, a good phrase. What about you, Kwame? Are you do you want me to go to Tanya?
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's the most inspiring word, but it's a word I like a lot, and it's A&D. I just think, what's that whole like improv thing about picking up what people leave off, and about collaboration, and about not closing doors but opening them. I think, especially pandemic days, and doing what we do, I just feel like there really isn't like a right or a wrong or a good or a bad idea. It's just, I don't know, there's just an openness and willingness to go with things or not, and to build on things or not. And I think for me, and for a lot of what we've been doing, it is more of that. How do you amplify the good, and how do you evolve or iterate things, and not shut things down or shut people down,
Yeah.
And then words that I really 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 don't like are can't. I just think, to me, there's something about that is you limiting yourself, not necessarily someone limiting you. So I think, I don't know, I try to avoid using that word as much as I can. And yeah, those are my 2 words, I guess.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, that's the can't thing I try not to use as well, because it really truly is that word that really stifles your whole world. When you say you can't, then you might as well give up life. It really should. I had a friend who passed away a couple of years ago. He's 92 and a really brilliant guy. And he would say, he taught me, like, I go, how did you do all of the things that you did? He goes, I just said yes to life. I can. And I think that's the true kind of inspiration that came out of, like, what you're saying about the negativity of can't. What about you, Tanya?
Well, I'm going to put the mirror on you. What about you? What are your words?
Me?
Yeah.
Can't turn it on the
Yes, I can. Come on. What are your words?
I don't know, like, if there's, I do think that joy is a really great word that I think is not used enough. I think joy in life says a lot about who you are when you are asked, your joy or joyful, I think, is a really great word that inspires me. I don't have too many words that I don't like. God, I now you got me turned all around. What is like a negative word? I don't know. A negative word would be, hearing early in the pandemic, we've been doing this for a year and a half. We've done 13, 15 episodes of this. So it's amazing to hear the wonderful words that people are inspired by, and the words that used to be really great words that are no longer great words. So I'd love to go back to all of those people and ask, what have you changed your word that that early in the pandemic was negative versus, so I'm going to go back to you.
Came up the most, by the way, was pivot. Like when we did this
Pivot,
a year and a half ago, people hated
Oh, interesting.
I still hate
Pivot.
it personally.
Yeah.
So
Pivot was a really, really, really big word for sure. I think people are still pivoting. I think, but anyway,
I mean, for me, the thing that I despise is when people are like, "This is the way we always do it." Just that phraseology.
yeah,
I just want to jump through the Zoom and just strangle people. That is the thing that drives me up a wall, because we're supposed to be change makers. Like, the whole reason why you're bringing us together, you've hired us, you're asking us to help you, is to change the way you're doing things. But they're like, that's the way we always do it. Or I don't know, that just bugs me because it's like the whole point of trying to break through the clutter is to try to change the way we've always done things. So, or just try to listen a little differently for a second and then close the door. But like, just
Yeah,
leave
yeah.
that door open a little bit. Like that just, I don't know, that just, that one bugs me. And the
And
word that inspires me, uh, I just want people to say what they mean. I'm a very straight, people who do know me, and a lot of you know me on this. And I think, Marci, we probably have a lot of people in common that if we looked at our LinkedIn's, we probably know a lot of the same people, but like, I'm a real straight shooter. Like
is
what
there a
you
word
see.
that means that to you though? Is there one word that kind of like comes together in that
I
thought?
don't want to use authentic because it's so overused. I just want people to be genuine. I just want people to be real. Like just
Right.
say what you mean. Like be, and I want to feel it. And it's, and again, I like, that's what being in person with people, you get that vibe. It's sometimes hard to see it and feel it on Zoom. There are some people, it's funny, we were talking about this the other day. There are some people that shrink into themselves on Zoom, and there's some people that you can feel them on Zoom. You can feel who they are. And then there are some people you literally have to pull their personality out on Zoom. It's an
Yeah.
interesting, like as we continue through this sort of half world, and because are we ever going to be full-time in the office? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, depending on what coast you're on. Like on the West Coast, we're doing this part-time in and out of the office. Or if you're on the East Coast, everybody in New York's like, what are you, crazy? We're all back in the office. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are nuts.
Yeah, I
So
do think that Zoom has allowed real authentic people to be more real and more authentic. You have to be. Like I think when you're talking on a Zoom, people are focused on you, and I think people know when you're not authentic or lying or saying something out, pulling something from your butt or whatever. And so I think it shows in the leadership of all of you guys, how real and authentic you are, and how real and authentic you're willing to be. Whether or not your intentions was to be a leader or call yourself a leader, it comes through from my perspective. So thank you guys for those words. They're very interesting.
I will say one thing. I do think while the Hollywood Squares has the potential to create a more equitable platform, I don't know that it actually does for everyone. I think it's a little bit what Tanya said. I think some people struggle to show up in this forum and feel a lot of pressure to say the right thing, or interject in the right way, or I don't know. I think it's got its challenges too, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not a big, it's in person or Zoom. I do think it's a hybrid probably that we're going to live with for the rest of time. And then, soon it'll be the metaverse, I guess. But I don't know. A part of me wonders if a lot of the societal stuff that's holding us back is making the leap into this form, and I think that would be pretty regrettable if it does, because we have a chance to create something that's net new,
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, being a kid in early grade school who was afraid to raise my hand because I may have been judged, and I just couldn't deal with that. I think the idea of being in a Zoom platform and people focusing on you, making you intentionally think about what you want to say, and not be able to hide, I think could benefit a lot of people that would otherwise go unheard or maybe not step up to the plate. So I think in that regards, I think it's a really good platform, and just bringing people out and making them feel more confident about who they are and able to talk. So, but that's an interesting, that could be a really great question in the future. Thank you for that. I'm going to skip over the fourth question. I'm going to go to the fifth question, which is, do you have a mentor? Who were they and what have they taught you? I'm going to go with Marci.
It's a tough one. I mean, Laura Bowles has been my mentor since, day one at Crispin, and worked with her for years. But there were so many people who influenced my leadership skills, the way I foresaw myself growing in the industry. But I have to say, like, in those formidable years, Laura was my mentor, my boss, my confidant when it came to the work. And her leadership style was just one that I always admired and hoped to replicate. So just, she always made the work fun. It was always, firm but fair. And most importantly, she was always kind. There was no ego. There was no condescending tone. Like, she's just a genuinely great human being, which I always respected. So I still keep in touch with her. And if she sees this, thank you, Laura.
She's amazing. Yeah. She is amazing. Was there anything was there one phrase that she ever used that she used consistently that you can recall?
I mean, there was a word she used a lot that
you can
really
say it. We're
impressive.
adult.
I try to keep it more measured, but I always knew where we stood in terms of how a particular project was going. Like, the word, fuck was used a lot in a really positive way, in a really oh shit way. And so, yes, it's definitely part of my vernacular, but I try to use it appropriately.
I love that. Thank you so much. What about you, Linda?
I've never had a mentor, but there were certainly people that helped me along the way. There was a CD, Mark Lees, back in Australia, who let us work in his agency for free and gave us briefs. Esther Clarahan was the headhunter that sent our portfolio to Wieden & Kennedy. John Matthews was an ECD at Wieden & Kennedy Amsterdam, who encouraged me and allowed me to change from an art director to a writer.
Wow.
Jay Goodman is the founder of Observatory. He's always one phone call away to give any advice. But really, I have a group of peers that I go to for advice. And if I have any issues, they're mainly women that I've worked with, and we're always there for a little bit of wisdom or a little bit of support and advice. So that would be, a substitute for a mentor.
Oh, I love that. It's great. Do you have a mentorship program, or do you advocate for mentors for young, creatives?
I mean, we have a lot of senior people in the agency and a crop of junior people, and we are here for them. So, the door's always open, and whatever they need, and getting them into different things like the Effies. So doing things like that, yes. I mean, bringing up young talent is huge.
It's very huge. And I think that's another one of the inspiring things about this series, is that young people who would never have had access to somebody like you or Kwame or Tanya or Marci hears that, like, yeah, I'm there for them. They can call me anytime. They can, it inspires them to make them feel like they can ask you a question or approach you where they might not have. So I love that you said that. That's really important. So if one person hears that, I think it's going to be great. I love it. What about you, Kwame?
My story is very similar to Linda. I don't think I've ever had a formal mentor, but there are definitely a lot of people that have helped me, and there's quite a few people whose experience I've benefited from, and to be able to just have them in my orbit, speak to them, get their perspective. A lot of peers that I'm genuinely super inspired by. Actually, one of them works with you, Linda. Anthony Williams is one of my favorite human beings on the planet.
Amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah, we worked together at Media Arts Lab, and in 2006, I think, and we've been in touch ever since. And but I think there's so many incredible people in this business. I think that's one of the things that I was really excited about making the switch from working in finance. I just think you kind of find your people, who love similar things to you, but also challenge your perspective and approach. And so, yeah, I think maybe that's part of the reason why I'm very excited at this point in my career to spend a lot more time focusing on sharing the little that I've learned. I'm very involved with DNAD. They have an amazing program called Shift that I've been sort of ECD for the last couple of years. And it's cool to just talk to people who don't have a high school degree, but are excited about advertising and want to get into the business and help create a pathway for them, through Saturday morning. That's a big, focus of the work, is how do we, elevate and kind of hero a perspective that allows people who, again, are passionate about what we do, but maybe don't see themselves as much, have an opportunity to connect to the industry. So stuff like that.
I love that. I mean, again, it's so good to hear a different perspective, because I think a lot of probably young people feel like, oh my God, I have to have a mentor, and I don't, so I'm less than. And to hear that both you and Linda don't, and still are able to have all of these amazing people surrounding you that support you, and vice versa, I think it's really important for young people to hear that there's not just one path, the right path, the right way. I love that. Tanya, you?
I will say,
wait.
I probably would have benefited from having a more formal mentor earlier in my career. So if you have the opportunity to,
We all
start to get one, get one.
But aren't we but I think we're a generation that, unfortunately, and I love our business, but I don't think our business was focused on that kind. Our business wasn't focused on doing that or providing that kind of support. And it wasn't. I think our mentors were accidental mentors, and you kind of got the best out of the people that you were surrounded with. I was very fortunate. I worked at Goodby Silverstein and Partners for 10 years, and whether Jeff and Rich knew it, they taught me the art of storytelling, and how to properly frame up why, because they would hold accountable producers for, if you didn't bring back a shot, they didn't go to the creatives. They actually went to the producer and said, why didn't you bring back the fucking shot? Or I should do it in Jeff's voice, like, what the fuck, LeSieur? Like they would, like, Jeff would be like, dude, what, where is it? I'm not even doing a good Jeff right now. I don't know why. Usually I do a good B. But but they would know. So, but, and working with Jamie Barrett and, all the creative directors that I was surrounded with, that, there are incredibly talented, creatives that I, had worked with over the years at many agencies that I just was able to learn from as a maker. And then, on the production side of things, again, Craig Allen, again, I don't think he realized he was a mentor. He was a mentor to so many of us throughout the years. And I know there's many of us on the, who have been, I've been on, this venue who have uttered his name. And I learned so many things about being, about being a smart listener as a producer, and knowing, how to weigh in and when not to weigh in, or how to interpret how I show up as a maker and a producer and a partner, and account for and produce and account partners, and all the things I've learned from my great partnerships on that side. So, and now I think this, the switch is flipped, and now we are much more conscious about creating leadership and sponsorship. There's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship, which I think is really, really fascinating. AdColor did a really, really great study around sponsorship. So
I love it. Well, thank you for that. I don't know how people are doing for time, but I'm going to go to one more question. It's the bonus question. It's one that
I'm so sorry, but I got to jump, Oliver.
Are you going to jump? No, but it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for hanging with us. It's
nice
good to
seeing you all.
see you. Absolutely. We'll see you soon, my friend. We'll keep going though with these other guys. Thank you. We want so much to fit in, and this came from a talk that I heard about young kids, growing up, having a creative idea and being special, and just letting no one like stand in their way. And then as you grow up, your peers start knocking you down. But we all, want to fit in so badly. And then as you grow older, you lose that. What is the one thing that kind of makes you stand out, just as a human being? Linda, what about you?
I have no idea. I'm not sure I really do stand out. I try to.
Of course you do. My God. You stood out
funny as hell. Wait, you're funny as hell. Come on.
I mean, to start off by saying, like, like I was, you were a naughty girl, and you, like, that takes courage to talk about just things when you're like a child. You stand out as like but that's interesting that you don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I stand out in that I'm a, senior female creative in this industry. They're fairly rare. Thankfully, that's changing a lot. So that's probably it, and being Australian and lived on many continents, that all helps. But in a crowd, I don't know, just look like everyone else. So.
Oh my God. I also love the fact that you were able to, not only decide you're going to do it, to go from an art director to a copywriter and do it. I mean, that's a big deal. Like, I don't know, like that stands out in a way that, tells me as a leader, you have to like do what you have to do that you feel is in your gut, and you went for it. And I think that's inspiring to people. So yeah, that's great. I love it.
Going against what I'm meant to do. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so you're a badass. You're a badass, and you've always been a badass. So I love it. What about you, Marci?
I think I try to bring humor wherever I can. I've got a really goofy sense of humor. I'm that person that will laugh at America's Funniest Videos. It is one of the cheesiest shows on the planet, but it gets me and I can't help it. So I, even in the work environment, and especially in advertising, I try to keep it light. I try to keep it fun. And if I can get a fart joke in, I will. It's just like trying to bring a little bit of levity to situations where you need it most. And maybe I'm a little quirky, but that's probably my thing.
It's what makes you stand out. That's great. I love it. What about you, Tanya?
I think people who know me as in a work setting know that I will make it happen. If I say I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to make it happen. So meaning if it's towing a space shuttle, I'm towing that space shuttle. That's that. And in my personal life, if I'm your friend, I'm your friend forever. So
I love it.
That's who I am.
Do we have time for one more question? Everybody? Let's go for it.
Sure.
What is something that you do regularly now that you didn't before the pandemic, and why? Marci, you're unmuted, so.
I feel bad almost saying it's like I pick up my kids.
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah, but it's guilty mom syndrome. The fact that pre-pandemic I never ever picked up my kids from school. It was a nanny or a grandma or somebody who could help because it just wasn't humanly possible with the hours in the day. Now they're a little bit older and they recognize that I pick them up frequently. It's not every day. It's, when I can, enough that it matters to them and it matters to me. And I'm fortunate to have the flexibility to be able to do that quite often. And I won't let that go. So
I love that. Again, going back to the beginning of this a year and a half ago, one of the best answers was similar to yours at the time, and it was just at the beginning of the pandemic, and that was that people would say, "My God, I got to know my husband. I got to know my child. I got to feed a passion that I didn't otherwise feed because I was never, I just didn't have the time." So I think that's an amazing thing for not only you, but for your kids as well. And I hope people hearing this understand that you should take the time, things will get done. We all know it'll happen, but you have to take time for yourself. What about you, Linda?
Yeah, mine is also family oriented. My parents are in Australia. I used to call them once a week, and now I call them multiple times a week. Ever since, the dark days of the pandemic where everyone was locked down and afraid. And so I have continued that. I also walk the dogs at night still. Nice to be out in the dark when no one else is out there. And yeah, those are the two things.
I love that. That's great. And have your parents been to America to see you, to visit you?
No, but I went back home twice during the pandemic and did quarantine hotel for 2 weeks.
God.
Got up at 3 a.m. It was kind of just business as usual. I mean, we were on Zoom literally all day long, and just did that, except I couldn't go out and I got a bagged lunch and breakfast and dinner. So I did that twice.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did also travel early on in the pandemic, and being on a plane with nobody else was really scary.
I loved it. It was
You
glorious.
did?
Any row, anywhere. I mean, I was masked up, but it was
Yeah.
glorious.
You're like, yay.
I took a special straw for my wine. I loved it. Right. That's not like it is now, though. Not even
No,
close.
it's not. It's definitely
No.
different. I love that. What about you, Tanya?
You know, the work-life balance, I don't know, it's a good thing. It's made us all recognize, that you can shut it down and pick it up, and, we work when we need to work, and we can shut it down when we need to shut it down. And I think that's important. And I think it makes us better people and makes us more creative, and puts our priorities in the right places. So it's been a good
I
thing.
love that. I love it. What is that? This is not on the sheet that you were sent, but what would you, knowing what you do now, what would you tell your 10-year-old self, Linda?
God, you're throwing some curveballs.
Yes, well, you guys are thinkers.
Invest in Apple and Netflix, and
That
I
is
would love to go
brilliant.
back in time and know what I know now. Sure.
That
Yes.
is brilliant. Oh, practical woman. I love that. That's genius. No one has ever said that. What about you, Marci?
I mean, it's really hard to beat that one because I agree. I was going to say,
Yeah,
go
that's just that. I mean, please let me go back. I'd do it.
Yes, yes. I don't know. I don't know what I would tell I probably would have said, don't stress so much. We chose advertising for a reason, and don't let it get to you, because it can happen so easily. And so ideally my younger self would have taken that to heart and maybe not as stressed quite so much. But if my younger me invests in Apple and Netflix, it won't matter anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't be stressed. What about you, Tanya?
I'm going to listen to these ladies. Although, because I worked on Netflix when they first launched at Goodby, so I know when to when to buy and sell Netflix when they were DVDs. So, because it was high. It was high at one point.
Oh, I know.
DVDs.
Well,
anyway.
guys, you are amazing and inspiring, and I hope when anybody, whoever sees this, if it's only one person, I'm sure they're going to be inspired by what you guys have said. True leaders, humans. I just think it's great to be able to connect and hear truthful, authentic, real kind of conversations and questions and answers from you guys. I don't know, Addison, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm all good. Just thank you very much for joining us and humoring our questions.
Again, thank you for taking the time. I know it's valuable. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.